One of the best ways to level up the quality of your videos is to start using ND filters, but if you're anything like me, that might mean you've been using sort of a low-end, inexpensive filter for a while, which is fine, but now maybe you're ready to invest some money in a really high quality filter. Not long ago, I made a video where I reviewed this right here, the PolarPro Peter McKinnon Edition Variable ND. And in that video, I said that in my experience, these are the best ND filters I've ever used. It's a huge step up from something like a $20 or $30 filter that you just might find online somewhere. Now there are two versions of this filter. There's the 2 to 5 stop version, which is the one that I reviewed in my other video, but there's also a 6 to 9 stop version. And for my review, I borrowed this one right here. So this is not my filter, I'm borrowing it. And in that video, I said that as much as I love this one, since I'm somebody who loves to film at a wide open aperture, I would buy the 6 to 9 stop version personally if I were to get one and I really wanted to get one. Incredibly enough, after that video came out, the folks at PolarPro sent me the 6 to 9 stop version, which now I have my very own super high quality variable ND, which is awesome. So what I wanted to do now is to compare the 2 to 5 stop against the 6 to 9 stop and help you figure out which one would be best for you. So the first thing is, I mentioned the packaging in my review video, but I kind of glossed over it a little bit because I didn't have the packaging since I was borrowing it. But this is really nice. I mean, on the back of it, you got, you know, a whole little about section. You've got Peter McKinnon's picture, which I think is really cool, not just as a fan, but just as, you know, it's just really cool to see somebody from like the online community receive this kind of legitimacy. I think that that's amazing. The box is closed with nice magnets. You open it up, you got one of Peter's photographs, and then inside you have the filter itself. There's this slim defender cap. This is actually really helpful and super cool. The filters themselves come in this metal magnetic case, which I talked about in my last video. There's the beautiful filter. And then under the foam in the packaging, you've got a soft travel pouch. So basically this thing would be like invincible once you put it in there. And then you also have a cleaning cloth, which has another one of Peter's photos on it. So he did a lot of really cool branding stuff in this partnership with PolarPro. But beyond the really nice branding and the packaging and all that is a really nice filter. So let's take a look at this and explain why you would want to choose one of these over the other. Now this is not a which is best video because neither of these is best. They're totally different. They serve entirely different purposes. So right off the bat, just to give you an idea of which filter might be better for you, this is just my very non-scientific opinion on the differences between the two. The 2 to 5 stop filter is great if you're somebody who wants to film at apertures above 2.8. It's really good if you're going in and outdoors. Maybe you're filming an event and it's in the daytime, but you're bouncing back and forth between indoor conditions and outdoor conditions. It's great just for lower light, not low light, but stuff like afternoon, evening. And it is also the less expensive filter. It sells usually for about $250. The 6 to 9 stop filter is great if you're somebody like me who loves to film with an aperture wider than 2.8. I love 1.4 and that's a really wide aperture. So that means it's easier to maintain that 1/50th of a second shutter speed to keep your movement looking natural. It's great if you want to take photos using long exposures in the daytime, but because it does offer more ND and there's just, I don't know, a little more oomph behind it, it is a little more expensive and it usually sells for about $300. So based on that and the performance between these two filters, that's what's really going to determine which one is best for your needs. Of course, if you got the budget, you could just go and buy both of them and then you're all set, but for most people, spending $500 or $600 on two filters is pretty extreme, and you probably at least want to start with one or the other. If you watch my review video, you'll know that one of the reasons the PolarPro filters are a little more expensive is because they protect your image quality in a way that sometimes less expensive filters just aren't able to do. So if you've got your camera with your wonderful lens on it, and then you're gonna put another piece of glass in front of that high quality lens, what you don't want is for that glass to deteriorate the image quality. And with less expensive filters that use less high quality materials, sometimes that's just a side effect of that. You get glares. The biggest thing is that you get this cross polarization pattern, especially in a filter like my cheap one, which goes from 2 to 8 stops. That's just a wide range, and you have 2 pieces of glass going back and forth between this filter. One of the reasons PolarPro chose the 6 to 9 stop and the 2 to 5 stop is to avoid that cross polarization. So no matter what, even in the brightest conditions, you're not gonna have that issue of vignetting or a dark X pattern showing up and potentially ruining some of your shots. Before we get into the full test, here's a quick look at some of the differences. This is the 2 to 5 stop filter set to 2, and this is the 6 to 9 stop filter set to 6. So this is the least amount of ND that each filter offers. You can see 2 versus 6 is quite a difference. And if I change that, if I turn this one all the way up to 5, they're much closer now, but then this one can go all the way to 9, and now you've got 5 versus 9. It might be tough to see in an indoor situation, but this one is significantly darker. So between the 2 filters, you have a range that goes from minimal neutral density to pretty intense filtration taking place. Now, it's a little silly to compare ND filters indoors, so it's probably better to go outside and compare the 2 of these in much brighter conditions. I waited till it was like as bright as it could be, and it's painfully bright outside. This is the 6D, which I had to turn the aperture, close the aperture all the way to f11, which I would normally never want to do. And then this is the R with my 24mm 1.4. But in order to make the R work at all right now, I have to turn the shutter speed up to 3200 if I want to keep that shallow depth of field. And normally I would never want to film that way because it doesn't make the motion look good at all. So I actually have the 3 filters. There's the 2 to 5 stop, the 6 to 9 stop, and then I also have my cheapo Amazon $30 filter as well. So you can kind of see the difference between how these things work. So for example, right now on the R, if I turn the shutter speed to 1/50th of a second, which is where I would normally want it, this is what it looks like. That doesn't look amazing. What I'm actually going to do is throw this filter, my cheapo one, onto the 6D. There we go, make that look a little better. And you might notice some vignetting on that filter. And then over here on the R, we will start with the 2 to 5 stop. So right now on here we have ISO at 100, the shutter speed's at 1/50th of a second, and the aperture is at 1.4. And as you can see, I am entirely blown out. So let's take this 2 to 5 stop filter and throw it on here. So here's 2 stops and here's 5 stops. That actually looks pretty good. 5 stops is pretty darn usable, but that's as much ND as this filter is gonna give me. So even here, if you look at like my hand, the side of my face right here, it's still overexposed. Even with this filter, that's where the 6 to 9 stop comes in. So this is the 6 to 9 stop filter. This is at 6 stops, and if I go all the way to 9, now I actually have the opposite problem. It's way too dark. To get something that I like right now, something that I think looks pretty decent, I am actually at about 7 stops. Just in this specific case, if you want to be a maniac and film at 1.4, the 2 to 5 stop filter is just not going to give you enough ND to make that happen, whereas the 6 to 9 will. But here, let's film a couple other examples. What's kind of interesting with the cheapest filter is if I twist it in front of the lens, you can see the cross polarization coming and going. But when I rotate the 6 to 9 stop, even at 9, it doesn't really change. Now, I know that buying filters sometimes doesn't seem like the most exciting way to spend your hard-earned money on camera gear, but they really do make an incredible difference. And one of the things with camera gear is, for the most part, you get what you pay for, especially if you're dealing with the sub $100 to several $100 price range. The jump in quality can be pretty enormous, and the difference between these filters and some of the lower end ones is quite massive. So if you're able to do it reasonably, it's worth investing in something like these PolarPro filters to really help improve the overall quality of your videos and your photos. Definitely check out my full review video where I go in depth about why I absolutely love these ND filters.